We're going to bow in. Good evening and welcome to Kidsafe Online. I'm Sensei Chris. This is our intermediate workout. This is going to be an instructional video. We're going to warm up as we always do, but we're going to do a warm up that's designed for when you're going to focus on forms. And then we're going to go through the form known as Heian 4, sometimes in Japanese, Heian Yondan or Heian Yodan. In Kidsafe Karate, this is a blue belt form. So let's bow in. Student code, respect, integrity, perseverance, discipline, pride. Good. All right, so we're going to get our body moving as we always do. Try to get our heart rate up. And then we're going to go through some of the kihon, some of the basic techniques that are useful for this particular kata. Good. A little bit faster. Moving your arms as well as your legs. Can't lift my knees up that high because I've got a knee injury, but you're welcome to get them up nice and high. Good. Marching in place. So since this is an intermediate class, we're going to try opposite elbows to knees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's try thrust kicks. Knee up, thrusting out, knee up, stepping down. Cat stance, kicking stance, thrust kick, back, down. Cat stance, kicking stance, thrust kick, back, down. We're going to do the other side, and then I'm going to add to that a kick that's useful for this particular form. Cat stance, kicking stance, thrust kick, back. Let's lunge forward a little bit. Cat stance, kicking stance, thrust kick, back, crescent step forward. Good. Cat stance, kicking stance, thrust kick, pull it back to our kicking stance, stepping forward with a crescent step. We're going to go back to our right side now, and we're going to practice. We're just going to warm up our hips for one of the kicks that we're going to be doing later on. To start off with, I have to talk about how you're standing on the floor, okay? So what I want you to do is kick your big toes up and just walk on the outside edges of your feet. And what you're going to do is tap the bottom of your foot on your opposite knee. Tap, 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 tap. I'm going to let these down. You can see my feet well enough. Tap, tap, tap. All right, now we're going to double that movement. And what we're going to do is we're going to go tap out, back down. Other side. Crane stance, side kick down low, just stretching out our hip here. Just practicing turning our hip over. Kicking out, back, down. Let's take a more of a rooted stance here and just cat stance, crane stance, snap kick, back, down. Cat stance, crane stance. My knee is pointing out on an angle. It's not directly sideways and it's not pointing forwards. It's halfway. Out, back, down. Let's pick that up just a little bit faster. Now we're going to do it on the same rhythm that we did before, where it's going to go tap, kick, tap, down. Tap, kick, tap, down. Tap, kick, tap, down. Tap, kick, tap, down. Tap, kick. Just loosening up our hips. Tap, kick, tap, down. Tap, kick, tap, down. Good. If you notice, when I'm doing that motion, you can see my belly button turning from side to side. So I'm facing front, turning my belly button down towards the floor, coming back, stepping down, coming to the other crane stance, turning my belly button towards the floor, and that also turns my supporting knee slightly away, back, and down. All right, upper body twisting. Gonna get the camera back up here. Good. Swing those arms out. Good. Swing them forward. Swing them backwards. Good. Make those circles smaller, 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 smaller. Now swing forward in small circles. Bigger, 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 bigger. Try one arm at a time. Reverse that. Back and forth. Good, let's loosen up our neck. Roll your head around, chin up, ear to your left shoulder, point your right hand to the ground. You can rest your hand on here if you want. Ear to your right shoulder, point your hand to the ground. Cross your arms, pulling your right arm across, pulling your left arm across, reaching around behind you, grabbing your wrist and just straightening your elbows to stretch out your shoulders a little bit. If you're more flexible than me, you can lift. All right. We're going to do another quick drill, warming up our upper body still. Also based on the kata. We're going to do a back fist, come back, do a slapping block. Then we're going to turn our hips and do an elbow strike. If you know the kata, you're going to recognize this move. So starting off in a horse stance, back fist, come back, slapping block, turning my body, elbow strike. Excellent. One more time. Back fist, back, slapping block, elbow strike. Other side. Back fist, back, slapping block, elbow strike. One more time. Open hand on the right. Actually, let's go to the left one more time. I want to talk about something I did second time, but not the first. Back fist, cup and saucer, slapping block. This fist is closed, elbow strike. So going to the right, back fist, cup and saucer, slapping block, elbow strike. Other side, back fist, cup and saucer, slapping block, elbow strike. Back fist, cup and saucer. So what do I mean when I say cup and saucer? You can do this or you can do this. Because of the move that comes next, I usually chamber this way for this kata. Back fist, back, open hand, and this hand is now in the position to do that. I mean, you can turn it over. I guess it looks prettier if you do this. Fist up, boom. All right, other side, faster. We're gonna go back and forth, left to right now. Going to the left, back fist, cup and saucer, slapping block, elbow strike. Other side, back fist, cup and saucer, slapping block, elbow strike. Other side, back fist, slap, elbow strike. Other side, back fist, slap, elbow strike. Let's do those elbow strikes back and forth a little bit. Let's skip the complicated setup move and just concentrate on what are we doing with our hips. As I go to my right, I'm in a forward stance. You can do a deeper forward stance because we're still warming up. Lunge out over your front foot. Notice that my knee is actually sticking out over my toes. My back leg is locked straight. My hips are turned towards my target. And my elbow strike comes to my center line. Good. Other side, take that step. You can go cat stance, forward stance, chamber, slapping block, elbow strike. Good. Cat stance, forward stance, slapping block, elbow strike. Cat stance. It's not quite a forward stance. It's actually a diagonal stance or a fudodachi. Elbow strike. All right. Getting warmed up. Let's work on some of the hand techniques that we're going to need in the kata, but we're going to start off with just basic techniques. Starting off with a single punch, chambering up, switch, 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 switch. Good job. Triple punch, please. Switch. 1, 2, 3. Switch. 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 Good. A little faster. Yeah. Good. All right, let's move to, let's see, what are we going to use in this kata? All right, let's move to lower blocks, okay? We're going to do some interesting lower blocks. We're going to start off in a right cat stance, chambering our fist nice and high for the lower block, stepping forward, and doing that. Classic Shotokan drill. If you have a line on the floor, use the line to judge your movements. Cat stance, lower block. Good. Same thing, same side. Cat stance, lower block. Rewind. One move, please. 1, 2. Good. Good. One smooth move, no pause in the middle. Good. Excellent. Let's warm up the other side. Doing a cat stance with the left leg, left hand chambered, right hand center line. Crescent step across, lower block, and chambering my other hand. Notice that my arm is parallel to my leg. Okay, mine's a little bit further out. But it shouldn't be here, and it shouldn't be here. It should be in a line similar to the line of your leg. I take a deep enough forward stance, okay? One more time. Left foot, cat stance, crescent step, lower block. Left foot, cat stance, crescent step, lower block. Notice I'm doing a two-handed lower block here. So this is an intermediate technique. Left hand, cat stance, crescent step, lower block. Everybody knows what I mean when I say crescent step. I'm gonna cross that line, turning my hips. Try to use the power of your hips to power your lower block. One more time. Cat stance, lower block. You can see my belt tips flying just after I've finished my block. Ready? From a neutral stance, cat stance, lower block. Good. From a neutral stance. Good. One more. A little faster. This time I want you to do it in one fluid motion. So this part and this part all flows together. Excellent. Pushing those hips forward, checking your reaction arm. Good time to work on your basic techniques. Ready? All right. We're going to make a change to this last lower block. We're actually going to make it a two-handed technique, the block itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring our hand up to our opposite shoulder. And as we do this lower block, we're going to do a vertical punch over the top. I think anybody who knows the form that we're working on knows that we're going to use this technique in a moment, okay? So we're going to chamber, instead of this and this, we're going to put the right hand on top. Stepping forward, boom, lower block. Now I've got a lower block with a vertical punch on top. Ready? Chamber, two hands, lower block. Fantastic. Try it on the other side, okay? When we actually do the kata, we're going to do left, right? We're actually going to do the one that we just did, but for now, let's try it on the other side. Normally, we would do a lower block. But now we're going to put our left hand on top, like a batter getting ready to hit a baseball, coming down with the lower block and a vertical punch over the top. Ready? Chamber, lower block. Good. Chamber, lower block. Excellent. All right, moving on. The next move I want to practice before we get into the kata is reinforced inner middle block. And there's a lot of different ways to do this block, but it starts off with an inner middle block. So it starts off in a right forward stance, and we're going to take our right hand, come across our body, and the image that I was always taught in Shotokan is if I have a sword, I'm reaching, grabbing my sword, and drawing the sword. So in middle block, we're reaching, grabbing that imaginary sword. Instead of cutting across, I'm going to turn my hand upside down. And when I'm done with this block, my fist is going to be at the height of my shoulder. My elbow is going to be, I'll turn this way so you can see me, one fist away from my ribs. And that's the proper position for my middle block. Let's try it again. Right foot, cat stance. This time I load underneath. My other hand is still in center line. As I come on the outside with this middle block, I'm going to chamber my reaction arm. Ready? Load, middle block. Good. Load, middle block. When I do this quickly, you'll notice that my arms start to become more closely horizontal, and there's nothing wrong with that. Ready? Load, middle block. As I pull out, I pull back with my other shoulder. One more time. Excellent. Try the other side. Loading my left hand, cat stance. My right hand is in center line. As I step across the center line, I'm coming around, middle block, shoulder height. Ready? Load, middle block. Again, load, middle block. Excellent. So that's a cool block, and when you get really good at it, you start to see a lot of different possibilities. But in the kata, we're not doing middle block, we're doing reinforced middle block. So there's a piece of this. Some people do reinforced middle block as if they're punching their own arm. And that's okay. But I've never really done it that way. I've always done it where I start to reinforce my block before the block takes place. So this time, as I reach across the chamber, I'm going to tuck this fist against the other arm. As I do my block, I'm going to roll that fist into position so that my knuckles go straight down along my forearm. My second hand is slightly tilted so that it makes a direct line into my forearm. So this is my reinforced middle block. Chamber, reinforced middle block. One more time. Again, using the left hand. Chamber, reinforced middle block. One more time. Excellent. So now we're going to add to that block by doing the next reinforced middle block, but we're going to start from this position. So what I have to do is now chamber the next block, and I have to bring the next hand underneath to reinforce it. So from here, as I step forward, cat stance, I'm now going to chamber this hand and tuck this fist underneath just as I did before and come forward with my next reinforced middle block. Same geometry, arms straight, fist tilted. Ready? So from the right block, from the left block, we're going to step forward, chamber, reinforced middle block. And if this were the kata, we would actually be doing it more than once. So let's step forward a few more times. Let's back up. Now we're going to go from a right reinforced middle block to a left reinforced middle block. Stepping forward, reinforced middle block. It gets to be a little smooth, but then after you get this motion smooth, you can actually add the pop back in. So let's do 3 more steps. This time we're going to start with the left foot as we do in the kata, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Excellent. All right. One more basic technique to do before we start laying out the kata. So we've got our reinforced middle blocks. We've got our side snap kick. We have to work on the idea of double blocking. Okay, so there's a sequence that shows up in this kata a couple of times, and it's a double outer block. And for our orange belt technique, we talk about somebody grabs you above the elbow and you're going to do double outer block. And that's exactly the technique we're going to do in the kata the first time at least. So get in a right cat stance, and we're going to do inside out double block. So right cat stance, right forward stance, double block. Notice that my fists tilt slightly out. So in the kata, I'm not going to do this, which would be a little more powerful. In the kata, I'm going to cross my hands and uncross. My fists are slightly out, still shoulder height. Okay. The next move in the kata is I'm going to kick with my right foot. But before I do that, I'm going to pull my opponent towards that foot and kick and do 2 punches. So let's try that again. Middle block, cat stance, double block, pulling your opponent in, kick, double punch. Fantastic. In the kata, we're then going to do the move to the other side. So instead of being a right foot, we're going to start with the left foot. And instead of going inside out, we're going to break an object between our two arms. So what I'm picturing doing is I've got my opponent here, and maybe they are grabbing me or resting an arm on me as I was fighting this opponent here. I get grabbed from here, and I'm going to come underneath that arm and break it. I'm going to come from two different directions. So right foot forward, break, reach forward as if to grab your opponent. Now I have this double block. You can face the monitor if it makes it easier for you. I'm going to kick now with my left foot. So I'm going to pull my opponent towards my left foot, kick, double punch. One more time. Outside in, double block, grab, pull to the rear leg, kick, double punch. Excellent. All right. Is we're going to put this form together using the pieces that we've assembled. To start off with, you have to know that Heian 4, Heian Yodan, is an I-form kata, which means, like the other I-form katas, we're going to start with a movement to the left, then we're going to do a movement to the right, then we're going to move up the center. It's going to be a little different than most I-forms, but that's the general pattern. So let's start off with the 8-step pattern that everybody's familiar with. And what we're going to do is we're going to look left. We're going to chamber our hands by our right hip. We're going to come across as if to trap or stop an incoming attack. Maybe it's a knee, maybe it's a kick. And then we're going to come up in an open-handed box block. So let's try that. Chamber, pressing motion, open-handed box block, and right now I'm sitting in a back stance. Then I'm going to do the same move to the other side. Some people chamber again and come across, but I've seen this kata done pretty frequently from here straight to the next move. So either way is fine with me. So we're going to go chamber left, up, pivot turn to a cat stance, right, up, open-handed box block. So those are the first two moves. 1, 2, back stance. Good. Stepping forward, here's where we're going to do that combination lower block vertical punch. We're going to step forward with a lower block and a vertical punch. Good. From the beginning, 1, 2, 3. Good. Second step forward is going to be a back stance. It's going to be a reinforced middle block. So I'm going to step forward into a back stance with my reinforced middle block. So that's move number 4. Again, from the beginning, 1, back stance, shifting my body. 2, coming to my cat stance. 3, stepping forward to a back stance. 4. Then we're going to do what some people think of as the theme move of Heian 4. I'm going to shift my weight forward onto my front foot. It's coming back here so you can see me. Shift my weight forward onto my front foot and come to a left crane stance, which we practiced during the warm-up. You see I've got my cup and saucer on my right hip. So we're going to do side snap kick, back, stepping down into a diagonal stance with a slapping block. Then I'm going to bring this elbow strike across. Let's put that together. From a left crane stance, side snap kick, back, stepping down, slapping block, my foot and my hand move together, turning my hip over, elbow strike. We're then going to repeat the move on the other side. Crane stance, looking to my right, side snap kick, back, slapping block in a diagonal stance, elbow strike. That's quite a lot of the kata so far. Now I want to point something out that happened while we were doing that. In a normal I-form kata, or so far in an I-form kata, we would be going left something, right something, then we would just come right up the middle until we were done. But what this kata does is it takes 2 steps, takes a little break to do those side kick, elbow strikes, and then it finishes the progress up. So we're going to finish in a moment, but let's put together what we have right now. Pressing block, box block. Pivoting to the other side, pressing block, box block. Stepping towards the camera. I have to remember to put my vertical punch on top. Lower block, vertical punch. Reinforce middle block. Going off to my left. Left crane stance. That snap kick. Pulling it back. Slapping block. I'm worried about hitting something. Elbow strike. Other side. Crane stance. Got to make sure you turn till your knee is at this 45-degree line. Side snap kick. Coming back. Slapping block. Elbow strike. So we've taken our little break. We've done a little side-to-side move in the middle of our progress up the middle. We're going to continue our progress now with some interesting movements. Soft style lower block, soft style high block. I'm going to get a little bit closer to you. A lower block would be this, but I'm going to do a soft style lower block. A high block would be this, but I'm going to do a soft style high block. And since I'm in a sideways forward stance, a lunge from here, my elbow strike, I'm just going to open my hands. If you were standing to the front of me, you would see this is slightly low for a high block, but it's a soft style high block. And this arm should be at the same angle as my leg. Good. So we went move number one. Now I'm going to continue my step forward with a left step. Going to switch this to a soft style high block and this to a chop. Those two moves together in combination in our dojo, we sometimes call Shaolin because they remind me of old Kung Fu katas. We've just done an elbow strike. We're actually going to lunge a little bit deeper. Then we're going to step towards the front of the kata, chop, and I'm back on my line in a forward stance. Then I'm going to finish this part of the kata by kicking and doing a vertical downward, vertical back fist, downward, aiming for someone's nose or theoretically for a part of their body, their collarbone, where you might slam down and break something. Okay, so let's break down just the part that goes up the middle. We start off with a lower block, with a punch on top. We move forward to an inner middle block. We take a 6-move break, side kick, elbow strike, actually 2 moves, side kick, elbow strike. Then we're going to do Shaolin 1, stepping towards the front of the kata, Shaolin 2, kicking to my hand. And I want to do this right technique, but as I step forward, I'm going to trap with my left hand, bring this hand above my head, and with my feet, as I step forward, I'm going to do an X stance. So I'm stepping into an X stance with this vertical downward strike. Let's do the whole up the middle section of the kata. So we're going to do right, left step, lower block with a vertical punch, right step, back stance, inner middle block, take a break for some side kicks, elbow strike, other side, elbow strike, lunging out, Shaolin 1, Shaolin 1, Shaolin 2. I have my left leg forward. I'm going to kick with the right foot. I'm going to trap with the left hand. Ki-ai. Finished with the first half of the kata. I'm now in a right stance. It's an X stance. Right stance, facing front. For instructional purposes, we're now going to turn the kata around so that I can do the second half still facing you. How are we doing on time? Not bad. Okay. The second half of the kata, we start off again in a right X stance with a downward strike. We're going to pivot to a left cat stance. So if I take an X stance and I have my foot on the floor and I pivot to this 45-degree line, I'm going to be in a left cat stance, and this is exactly the move that we practiced before. Inside, out, double block. Let's just do that one more time. Going to a right X stance, ki-ai. pivot turn, cat stance. My hands come to the inside. As I step forward, it's my forward stance. Double block out, pulling to my right hip so that I can kick with the right foot, then double punch. Some people do this kata as a high, low punch, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Coming back to a cat stance on my new 45-degree line, going to strike and break, going to pull out. So now I'm going 45 degrees in this direction. I'm going to pull that person to my left hip so that I can kick with my left foot so that I can do a double punch. So these 4 movements, they're more than 4 movements, but they're 1 step, 2 steps. I tend to count steps. Those movements take the place of the top 4 movements of most I forms. So usually in an I form, we would be going 1, 2, 3, 4. In this kata, we're going to go from the right stance. We're going to go left, forward stance on an angle, kick, punch, punch, right, right, forward stance on an angle, and pulling it in, kick, punch, punch. Good news, the rest of the kata gets pretty easy. Okay, we're going to come to a cat stance, chamber our left hand, and we're going to do a reinforced middle block. Good, we're going to step forward and do it again. Reinforced middle block. Going to step forward 1 more time and do it again. So that's 3 steps forward, just like every other I form kata. After we go to the left and to the right, we're going to go left, right, left, and you know it's going to end with a right technique. So get into your left forward stance with an arrow block. And what we're going to do is knee up, strike down. And that's actually the last move in this direction, but we're going to change direction in a minute. We're going to turn. So let's do the second half of the kata again. Let's recall that we started off on this right X stance, ki-ai. Going to pivot turn, turning to my left into a left cat stance. Hands go inside, double block out. Excellent. Pulling to my right hip, kicking, double punch high-low. Going to my right, once again, sorry, I keep chambering this the wrong way. Breaking here, striking here. So now I've got a right forward stance, going to pull to my left hip, going to kick, double punch high and low. So far, so good. So we've finished our left stance, our right stance. We're ending up here. We're now going to come up the middle. Left back stance, reinforced in a middle block. Right back stance, reinforced in the middle block. Left back stance, reinforced in a middle block. One thing I want to point out to you, and I'm going to go sideways so you can see this, is as you're advancing in a back stance, you don't want to do this. You want to advance, shifting your body as forward as little as possible. So back stance. As I move forward, you should see my body not move much in front of this line. I'm still sitting on this line. If I were to take another step forward, you would see from here, cat stance, back stance. And I want to try and get over my foot a little bit. Got the idea? Okay. Reviewing the second half of the kata one more time. Somebody bailed from the tape. Okay. Right foot forward, right hand, vertical downward strike, ki-ai. Good. Turning towards the camera. Hands inside and out. Pulling to my right hip, kick, high-low punch. Going to the other side, break, stepping out to a forward stance, pulling to my left hip, kick, double punch. Coming up the middle, chamber, reinforced middle block number 1. Chamber, reinforced middle block number 2. I'm going to back up a step so that I have room to finish this kata. Chamber, reinforced middle block number 3. Good. From here, shifting to a forward stance, arrow block, bringing my hands down as if I'm grabbing someone's head into my knee. Now I'm going to turn to my left, grab that imaginary opponent, and throw them that way. So just to show you what that move looks like facing away from the camera, which is what it would look like if I was performing the kata, is I would be in a forward stance, ki-ai, grab that opponent, and come back to facing front. We're now going to finish the kata. This is a knife hand block. Throwing that opponent, I demonstrate my knife hand block. Going to step forward with one more knife hand block. And that is the last move of the kata. But I want to just go through that kata one more time from beginning to end. We're going to pause in the middle and flip it around so that you can follow along. But I want to do the count on the kata, so we can sort of count the moves and get an overall look at it. It is an I-form kata. So we're going to do one step to the left, shifting, one step to the right. That's 2. Move number 3. Move number 4. Crane stance, 5 and 6. Crane stance, 7 and 8. Shaolin, 9, 10, 11, ki-ai. You could count that as 11 or 12. Let's call it 12. So now we're going to turn around on move number 12. Ki-ai, face away from the camera with your right leg forward. 13, 14, 15, 16. Reinforced block, 17, 18, 19. What do you know? Ki-ai, 20, 21, 22. So this kata is 22 moves. Like most I-forms, it's on a 20-move frame. You could count it a little differently. You could call it 24 moves, depending on how you count some of these complicated moves. Usually I count one step. So if I were to step my way through the kata, it would be 1, 2, 3 is a forward stance, 4 is a back stance. Usually I count the side kick as a move. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, ki-ai, 21, 22. That's how I usually count the kata. So that's your fast forward rewind. I hope that doing it mirror image and flipping the kata in the middle helped some people. If you find that difficult or confusing, let me know. But for now, I'm going to sign out. So I hope you enjoyed that video of Heian 4. I know it's just a basic instructional video, but hopefully it will help some people, because I find that Heian 4 is a very hard kata if you learn it in class to remember it when you get home. So hopefully something in this video will help provoke your memory, or it'll just give you something to practice to that's a little bit more similar to your instructor's voice in your classes. But again, the key word there is practice. Gotta practice your kata until you pretty much can do it without thinking about it. The biggest problem I had today in doing this kata is I've been performing this kata for about 30 years, maybe just shy of 30 years, 28 or 29 years, and doing it mirror image for a video, even though I have practiced that way in the past, is a little tricky. It's not hard to do mirror image, it's hard to do and describe mirror image. So you'll see me struggling with left and right. So as you come home, you're gonna have things that you struggle with. Hopefully, like me, you'll find some way to memorize it and to work with it. Once you've got it memorized, then you can really start to work on technique. You'll notice I wasn't super focused on techniques other than identifying the proper stance. I wasn't even worried too much if I was in a full forward stance when we're learning the kata. That part comes later. So hopefully you'll get it memorized and you can start to really work on it. Once you do, you'll find a lot of cool little ideas in the kata to discover. Thanks very much for joining us. Hope you'll be back again to Kidsafe Online. Let's bow out. Student oath. Strive to be our best. Settle for nothing less.